Appreciate y'all in the building. Man, we had some crazy games yesterday. We had some crazy games Saturday. Wild card weekend has been nothing but wild. We will talk about all of that. The coaching search for the Las Vegas Raiders. Please tell me I have sound. Um, the coaching search for the Las Vegas Raiders is heating up very rapidly. There is all kinds of names firing off the hip. We will talk about them. We will break them down. I will give you my selection. It still stands with Mike to the LaFleur, Robert Penner, the Godfather in the building. What's good? What's good? Shout out to everybody, man. How was your weekend? Did you enjoy the games? Crazy football, right? Let's just get into it right off the rip. The Chicago Bears, man. The Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams, hell of a game. Down 21-3 at the half. Mike LaFleur. We will get into that next after we talk about this topic. But hell of a comeback for that defense. They tightened up in the second half. They gave up, 6 points in the second half. Solid game. Solid game for a first time being a playoff head coach for Ben Johnson. The locker room speech, if you didn't check it out, man, go back and watch it. It's fired. The guy's fired up. He's got his team fired up. We'll get to the discharges. Last but not least, that'll be the topic. But man, let me know how you felt. Thumbs up, thumbs down. You excited about the game? It's hard watching the playoffs again with the Raiders not being involved. It's heartbreaking, man. It's devastating to watch these teams go out to perform the way they perform and to know that we haven't been in it since 2021. But it's coming, man. It's coming. The coaching search, we will get into that. Shout out Angels. Shout out everybody in the building. Appreciate y'all. But a hell of a game, man. A hell of a game for the Bears. A hell of a game for the Packers to start out hot like they did. Josh Jacobs had a fumble on a kickoff return. First kickoff return ever, I do believe, in his career. Started out pretty good, right? He ran the hell out of the ball, had a big gain, but somebody came up behind him, punched him out, got the fumble. Rough day for Josh Jacobs. Only 6 rushing yards in the second half. Keyshawn Nixon, former Raider, had a play at the goal line where he could have stopped the running back McKnight from scoring a touchdown, and he stepped out of the way. Not a good look. Not a good look. So a lot of former Raiders were in these playoffs. A lot of them struggled. We will get into the next game. The Rams, hell of a game, man. The Rams had a hell of a game with the underdog Panthers that won their division. That a lot of people thought wasn't going to be a game. The Panthers came out hot with the young squad. Bryce Young, decent game for a playoff game. The kid's starting to put it all together. Former Alabama quarterback. And a hell of a game, man. 34-31, right? A lot of people thought it was done. The Panthers were going to pull it off. But Mike LaFleur, the head coaching candidate, and that offense, right? I know it's called plays by McVay, but that offense for the Rams come down, took care of business. Another hell of a game. There's been a lot of news about the Rams, and we will get into that. We talked about Mike LaFleur. Y'all know how I feel about Mike LaFleur. If you don't know how I feel about Mike LaFleur, well, damn, subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Tickle the notification bell. I can't even talk, but yeah, all that good shit. Appreciate everybody in the building again. After the game, for the Chicago Bears, there's a lot of talk that Matt LaFleur, no, not Mike LaFleur, offensive coordinator for the Rams, but his brother, who was a former offensive coordinator for the Rams under Sean McVay, there was a lot of talk that he might lose his job with the Packers. Been in the playoffs, he's, I think, 74, 71, and 54 in his career with the Packers. I mean, that's a huge upside, right? It's not a guy you would want to get rid of, but there's a situation there. There's a situation there. The Ravens fired Harbaugh. There's a lot of talk about John Harbaugh having connections with the Packers family. There's talks about him having a home in Green Bay in the area. So if you put a lot of things together, right? There's also rumors and talks by the GOAT, right, coming out and saying that the Packers and Matt LaFleur are working in conversations right now to get an extension, right? Matt LaFleur has 1 year left on his contract. 2026 will be the last year he is on the contract, so they're trying to get that taken care of, get that out of the way. Now, if those coaching talks don't go good, there is a possibility that, you know, with the coaching talks, going on for next year, probably might not be out. But Harbaugh has a lot of talks. We'll get into that later on. But let's wrap up these games, man. Exciting games from the Rams and the Carolina Panthers. Shout out to the NFL. Shout out for parity in the NFL. A team comes in at 8-9. Nobody thought they had a chance against the Rams, and to me, it was one of the best games, I think, of all the playoffs. Then you have the Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Man, you just can't keep a great quarterback down. And Josh Allen, no matter what it takes, if it, busted up finger, busted up knee, had his knee bent backwards, stays in the game, man. Just absolute dogs. Another huge game for the Bills. What was the final score there? I don't remember. 27-24, right? Against the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot of talk. A lot of talk about their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, folding in the playoffs. I didn't see that, man. I saw, just a damn good defense, being Johnny on the spot, making plays. So shout out for Trevor Lawrence, Liam Cohen, and what they did in their first year as his first year with the coach of the Jaguars. And there's a lot of talk about coaches, offensive coordinator, a certain offensive coordinator on that staff, Udinski, who hasn't got an interview request yet for the Raiders. But if it doesn't come, something's wrong, because this man was the offensive coordinator for Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings last year. Goes with Liam Cohen to Jacksonville, has that team in the playoffs, and there's a lot of talk about this man should be coming up in the playoffs. I mean, getting his team to the playoffs, that should be in this coaching cycle. So, all right, shout out to everybody in the building. Robert Pena, Raiders Unleashed Raider, appreciate you in the building. Angel Eyes, what's good? What's good? Appreciate you. Mark, what it do? Hey, brother, appreciate you. What up? You keeping me up? You keeping me up with Raiders future? That's what I'm here for, man, to keep you up. And we're gonna get into the coaching talk, so stay tuned, because there's a lot of crazy shit going on with the coaching talks. Harbaugh's involved. We'll get into that. Both LaFleur brothers involved. We'll get into that. And then we got a game. To wrap up Wild Card Weekend. We have the Houston Texans and that nasty, nasty defense going up against, a seasoned vet, a Super Bowl winner, a guy that's been there, done that, 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who's having, a decent year for his age, definitely. Let me know what y'all got. What y'all got on this game? Do you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, or are you going with the youth? I'll give you my take here in a minute. Bills versus Rams Super Bowl. I could see that. The Bills look like their defense is finally for real. They're not winning games because of Josh Allen. It's not all on Josh Allen's shoulders, and it makes it a lot easier for a quarterback to go in, to focus on his job and do his job, and not think that he has to do everybody's job for that team to win. So shout out for the defensive coordinator. I don't know who it is for the Bills, but yeah, that defense, they're a lot better than they've been in the past. And we've talked about that, on this channel before, that should probably turn this down to, we've talked about it before on this channel, that what happened? The Bills are in a win now situation. I feel like if they don't win now, that team could be one of those teams that's blown up You have the Ravens out of your way. You have the, you know, the nightmare nemesis out of your way in the Kansas City Chiefs. And I thought I had Jacksonville. So, oh yeah, let's go over that also because I forgot to tell you. So, the Rams, Panthers. If you watched the, the pregame show, you knew I took the Rams. The Rams won. I took the Bears. The Bears won. I took the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the points they would have won. Um, but they lost. San Francisco and Philly, man, another one of those games that came down to the wire. Great plays, exciting plays at the end. You have Jennings throwing a pass to Christian McCaffrey 30 yards downfield in the end zone. You have the Eagles having problems with Sirianni on the sidelines with one of the best damn receivers in all of the NFL. I don't know why that doesn't work out, but don't be surprised if Sirianni is no longer the head coach very very soon for the Eagles. I don't know how that's going to work, but I posted right after the game. Don't be surprised if this man is looking for a job. Like, you can't be yelling at your players like that on the sideline. Seems to be problems in Philly, so look for him to be on the move as well. Eagles to trade A.J. Brown for Max Crosby. That would be crazy talk. Crazy talk. There is a lot of talk. Max Crosby giving mad props to the Bears, to Ben Johnson, a guy that a lot of people said, he was all in on coming to coach the Raiders. Is why they got the interview with Ben. Ben didn't take the job. Don't be surprised if Max Crosby does jump ship, that the Chicago Bears are one of those teams. And I heard a talk today that the Buffalo Bills trade package that they are willing to offer Max Crosby is something the Raiders would not be able to refuse. I didn't finish reading the article. We will get to that tomorrow. That will be the topic of the subject. Is what's up with Max? Daniel Barry, what's good, my guy? Appreciate you in the building. West Philly Black, what's good? Good to have you back. That would be a crazy trade, bro. That would break the internet. But the problems with AJ Brown and he's having, are some of them self-inflicted? Are they the Eagles' problems? Is it the coaching staff? Does he not, just get along with Sirianni? What is the deal there, right? So more investigating needs to be done before I'd say trade Max for a wide receiver. But the Max talks are heating up, man. And where there's smoke, there's usually Raiders Rebel, but there's also fire. Go Patriots. All right, so somebody got the Skylar's got the Patriots. Would you trade what would you take Mac on a team friendly deal if Mentor comes to Vegas? Well, since you brought that up, Mentor has been also a name that has been mentioned after the devastating Dischargers loss. I don't know who it was devastating to, but Chargers fans, all 10 of them, are very, very upset. But the Chargers are one and done once again in the playoffs. And my question is to you, and will be the pin comment at the end of this live if I remember it. Is Jim Harbaugh an overrated coach? Right? I mean, you get teams to the playoffs, but you just can't win in the playoffs. So let me know right here, yes or no for Jim Harbaugh. Type Y for yes and for no. Is Jim Harbaugh overrated? And a lot of people wanted him with the Raiders. And my problem was he had never done shit in the playoffs, right? You can't get over the hump. Well, I mean, he had one time, but other than that. So let me know how you feel about Harbaugh. We will get to the news. There is some very interesting talks about Jim Harbaugh that I will get to here in a minute. But I would take, I would love to have Khalil Mack back in Vegas. He should have never left Vegas. I don't know how he feels about Vegas or, people in the building and upper management, if that's something he would be willing to do. I don't know how he feels like that. But, yeah, I think any fan would be willing to take, Khalil Mack back, especially on a team-friendly deal. I mean, if he was down for it, I think it would be, a great story. Bounce around the NFL, get to come back, play 1 year, get us to the playoffs, right? It would be a great story. Tonight's winner goes to Foxborough. Yes, Yes, that is. We'll get into all that too here in a bit. I think it was Brown's reaction to the second drop. Brown was laughing and smiling afterwards. Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, though, if the players really felt like that, somebody should have beat his ass on the sideline. I mean, if that's the case, right? If he was really laughing, or was he just laughing at himself, out of anger, right? Because I do that on this channel watching the Raiders all the time. Like, if you ever see me do live commentary during games for the Raiders, I'm constantly laughing. I'm not laughing at the Raiders. I'm just laughing at how bad it is, right? And maybe he's, like, damn, this quarterback can't throw. Maybe he's laughing at his quarterback. But if he you know, blatantly got alligator arms to not catch that ball, then no, AJ Brown is not a dude I would want on my team. But if he's just frustrated and he just wants out, still, that's you can't sabotage your team, man. You get paid to do a job, and if that was the case, that's shitty. There's no room for that in the NFL. And if I was a teammate and I thought that was the case, we'd be scrapping. We'd definitely be scrapping. Sirianni just won a Super Bowl. He also signed a contract extension this year. Yeah, um, that doesn't mean nothing. That doesn't means absolutely nothing. The Raiders signed John Gruden to a 10-year contract. He played, he coached two of those. They signed Pete Carroll to a 3-year contract. They're going to pay him for 2 years that he didn't coach because they just fired him. Coaching contracts in the NFL mean absolutely nothing. Nothing. And there's been a buzz around Sirianni for a minute. So I wouldn't be surprised if, they decide to go another way over there. Especially when you got Harbaugh out there, right? There's a lot of coaches. You might have a Matt LaFleur out there, bouncing around. There's a lot of up and coming names, which we will get to very, very soon. So you never know. This is the NFL. It stands for not for long. And whether you just won a Super Bowl, if players are frustrated, if there's other people in the building frustrated, guys will walk the plank quicker than shit. I guarantee you. Raiders should trade for the number one pick for Tua. Now you just talking clown nonsense, bro. You should get blocked for that. Where's my mods at? I think there will be another. I think he will be another Pete Carroll. John Harbaugh. I mean, he's not as old as Carroll. I don't see him having the same philosophy, the weak softness. He's more of a tough coach. He's going to get on players. He's going to hold guys accountable. So it's not, I guess age-wise maybe, but he's like 13 years younger than Pete Carroll. I think he's only 60 years old or just turned 60. So, yes, that's up there, but for coaches in the NFL, that's not unheard of. Jim is a good coach, but um, but his O line back to back years was weak point. Well, I mean, we don't want to coach with a weak offensive line, right? We got Genty, we got Bowers, we got Jack Besh, which I'm telling you, Jack Besh is going to be one of those names like a Puka Nakua household name where people are going to be like, y'all got this dude in the second round and you didn't play him his rookie year? Jack Besh is going to be one of them ones. I'm telling you, that dude, his heart, his ability to separate, to make plays, this team is going to be nice. But yeah, the offensive line point, a weak offensive line is not what we need. We have a solid offensive line, I do believe. We have some dogs in the building. Like anybody that's willing to work after they put in work and practice all day and they're willing to go try to work on the offensive line by themselves, that's characters you want in the building, right? So I believe this offensive line, they might go out and get another guy in the draft or in free agency, but just hearing the talks that have come out of the building of what these guys were trying to do, and go out of their way to be better, I like the character of the guys we have in the building, and we just need somebody to come in and develop them. And Harbaugh probably is not that guy. And on top of this, so let's just get into all the coaching shit, right? Because that's what's coming up. Harbaugh has been an extensive That's what Sheffy, right? That's what Scheffner is pointed out today in three different interviews he did lives in, is they had extensive talks with the Las Vegas Raiders and Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh. Now, when you look at Brock Bowers, when you look at Ashton Genty, right? When you look at all the weapons in the building, Harbaugh would be insane not to talk about it, right? There is no head coaching scheduled. There is no interview scheduled. We will get into all the interviews before this show is over. I promise. I will give you everybody's name that's interviewed, everybody's name that's going to be interviewed, and where I stand with all these guys. But the Harbaugh news is he's been in extensive talks. And when you have a chance to work with a guy like Brady, right? But there's also been demands that he wants $20 million, that he wants $10 million for his staff, and he wants full control over the roster and personnel. Now, do the Raiders do this and Tom Brady, just push Spytek away to the side? I don't feel like he should. If you look at the draft for the Ravens the last couple years, and you look at the draft this year, now I know not a lot of them showed and not a lot of them got playtime. But I guarantee you, man, and I don't make a lot of guarantees, but I guarantee there are some studs in this draft that people are going to be household name cheering for, wearing their jerseys. Caleb Rogers, Charles Grant, Jack Besh. Watch out for these guys. Darian Porter. We drafted some dogs. Now, the coaching staff made a huge mistake. Got fired by not playing these guys. But watch. Spytek's draft is gonna turn out to be one of the best drafts in a long time. And I have a very strong feeling for that. So for that, I'm willing to let Spytek cook, man. He's got 5 years. I don't see Brady in this franchise letting Harbaugh come in and just taking full control of the Las Vegas Raiders. I believe that would be a huge mistake. No matter what his credentials are, he's got one Super Bowl in 18 years. Woohoo, right? They can't win playoff games. His playoff record is 13-11. So 2 games over 500 in 18 years, with one team, and however many years coaching before, not many years, right? So 11-13 in the playoffs, bro, is not a great record. So for Harbaugh, if it's me and it's my team, I'm going youth, man. I'm going youth. I'm taking one of these young guys, like a Mike LaFleur, like a Shieldhouse, right? Nate Shieldhouse. We'll get into that here in a second. Whose name is circling around, and has been compared to a very interesting head coach candidate last year that took a job and is very successful at it. So I'll break that down here in a minute. But Harbaugh, for me, I'm out, right? And there hasn't been an interview set up for the Las Vegas Raiders, but they have been in extensive talks, and I'm sure those talks are John Harbaugh saying, is Mendoza a lock, right? Is that your guy? Because what if I don't want Mendoza? What if I want to rebuild this team and trade back those picks and get my quarterback next year, right? So Harbaugh is doing his work. He also told the Cleveland Browns. He also told the Tennessee Titans. And he also told, who else? Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, and the Giants, the New York Giants, right? So Harbaugh has been reported to have told these teams that the next couple days he will be doing film review. He will be breaking down Cam Ward. He will be breaking down Jackson Dart. And he will be breaking down Shedeur Sanders and seeing which guy he wants to go with. So I'm sure the talks for the Las Vegas Raiders is Harbaugh more than likely will be breaking down film on Fernando Mendoza. And I'm sure he's a coach, right? He's a football guy. I'm sure he watched the football playoffs last week. And I can guarantee you he's going to watch on Monday. Wouldn't be surprised if, he's at the game, right? Like John Spytek was at the last game watching Mendoza. If you don't know that, that's an update. Spytek, our general manager, was at the game scouting Mendoza. So for that, I do believe, there's a lot of talks, and the Raiders are going to do their due diligence and talk to anybody they can. So talking to Harbaugh, picking his brain, asking him, what would you do, right? Would you draft a Fernando Mendoza? Would you trade back? Would you try to build this defense first? Like, who is the coaches that you think are young and up and coming? And I'm sure that's how the Raiders talks are going with him. I could be wrong, but I don't see Harbaugh being the guy. La la la. I think he was let go for a reason. They need a younger coach and a fresher perspective. Facts, facts. Everybody's let go for a reason. Maybe because you can't get over the hump after 18 years, and win enough playoff games to get you to the big game. I don't know. Pig says, "I'm glad he's not our coach." LOL. I would love Mentor though. Let me know why you would love Jesse Mentor. The defense is great, right? But that's Harbaugh shit. Like, that's Jim Harbaugh. What is Mentor without Harbaugh? Everywhere he's been great, or been noticed, has been under Jim Harbaugh. Under Jim Harbaugh. So can Mentor be that guy without Jim? We don't know, right? Is he kind of like a Ben Johnson rah rah guy where he can get the team fired up and have great speeches and shit like that? I don't know. So I just don't feel Jesse Mentor, and I've said this before and I'll continue to say, I don't see Jesse Mentor doing that to Jim Harbaugh, right? That's his guy. He would be nothing without Jim Harbaugh. He's followed Jim Harbaugh everywhere. I see Jesse Mentor being more of a stand-up guy, and I don't see him taking a job in a division. I could see him taking an NFL job, but I just don't see it being the Raiders' job. I don't see him wanting it. Reports are he was asked, the Raiders have asked to interview Jesse Mentor, and the report said his quotes were, are just another team to add to the hot blowing up phone log of interviews. So this man's gonna have his choice, pick and choose, and I don't know. I just feel like he has more character than that, more integrity than to stab your mentor in the back and go face him twice a year in the division when you can have your choice of any pick in the NFL. So for that, I just don't think Mentor will be the guy. The Raiders should hire Indiana coach Cignetti and draft Mendoza. West Philly Black. We've talked about that too on this channel. Does that make sense? He just signed a $93 million contract. The Raiders would have to buy him out, which would probably be, what, 20, 30, 40 mil, depending on what the team, asked or what the college wants. So I don't see Mark Davis paying $50 million to coaches that are not coaching this team this year, going out and spending another 40 just to get a guy here and then having to pay him 20 on a long-term contract. No, Cignetti would be great, right? He's done a great job in Indiana. But I don't see him walking away from those kids without offering him some crazy amount of money. And it would be, franchise malpractice for Mark Davis to still be paying $50 million in coaches and go and try to buy out Indiana to get Cignetti over here. But you know what would be a brilliant move? Because what did Cignetti say in all of his interviews, asking about how he's flipped this team around, how he's turned the culture around? He says the same thing every time. It's not me. It's my guys around me. It's my staff, my offensive coordinator, my passing game coordinator, my quarterback coach, my defensive coordinator. Those are the guys he leans on. Who are those guys? Well, one is Mike Shanahan. No relation to the other Shanahan. But Mike Shanahan is the offensive coordinator that has developed Fernando Mendoza, that sets all the shit up for Mendoza. So maybe the Raiders look into that, right? You're taking a lot of interviews. Maybe you call up, Mike Shanahan and try to get him in here. Or maybe they go, with the defensive side, which is, the hell is his name? I know it somewhere. True laughing normally is not an issue, but I think there's some weird stuff going on. Oh, definitely there is some weird stuff going on behind the scenes. It's been going on since last year. Navy Vet was good. Appreciate you, my guy. Furpo in the building. Raiders. Appreciate you, my guy. 808 Hawaiian. Appreciate you. There's definitely been a lot of stuff going on with AJ Brown. last year when they won the Super Bowl. The dude was seen on the sideline reading a book. Like he said he does that every game, right? He's like, shit, if I ain't out there, if the defense is out there, like you ain't even watching your team play. So there's been some problems in Philly for a long, long time, and I don't think he wanted to be there from the beginning, right? I don't think he likes Philly. I think it's there's been a problem since day one. I mean, you have a receiver like that that should get minimum 10 targets a game. You know, getting what 4 targets, 3 targets, sometimes 1 or 2 targets. So there's definitely a huge, huge problem in Philly with that. Is it the coach? Is it the player? I don't know, but maybe they're both out, right? Hola, brada. 2 wins this year. Raiders from the womb to the tomb. Yes, yes, yes. 2 wins this year. I don't know how many more it'll be next year, but it's got to be better than two, right? I hope to God. 13-11 in the playoffs is better than the Raiders playoff record, so why not? It definitely is. But again, do you want to take a chance on an older coach? Not, what was the problem with the Ravens? Why after 18 years and a guy that has a 13-11 playoff record, why did the Ravens decide to say no, right? Why did they decide let's fire this dude? There had to be a reason. There had to be something that happened. John is the best available. He's definitely the best available with the most experience. There's no question in that. I mean, his resume speaks for itself. I think we should go with a younger coach and get a fresher perspective. I mean, that's the way I feel. Rick, my guy, what's good? Appreciate you. Grandpa Harold, what it do, man? Appreciate you. Break over later, Raider Nation. Raiders, get back to work. Just waiting for the game to start. Yes, yes. Who you got? Who you got? You got Pittsburgh. You got Houston. Who you taking? Let me know. I'm going. I'll give my predictions now. I think somehow the Steelers pull off the upset. They have experienced coaching staff. They have an experienced quarterback that seemed very emotional last week with the victory. I think that fired up this team. I think it's going to fire up his receivers, and they got a 1-2 punch over there with their running game. And I feel like the Steelers could be pulling an upset and could be one of those sleeper teams, right? Why did that go away? The fuck, man. All right, so the rest of the games were the Philadelphia Eagles. We talked about that 23-19. Damn good game by the San Francisco 49ers, a team that is, just riddled with injuries. You know, uh, Kittles goes down with an Achilles in the playoffs. They have, I don't know how many, players injured on the IR, not just injured. And the 49ers just continue to find a way to win, knocking off the defending Super Bowl champions. We talk about the problems they have. And then the last game, again, Raiders over there performing. Robert Spillane, hell of a game. Caleb Vaughn chasing, man. Caleb Vaughn chasing. 2 sacks, a forced fumble in his first playoff game. The Raiders let go. He goes against the Chargers, who the Raiders played twice this year. And Max Crosby, I believe, had 1 sack in those 2 games, right? But Caleb Vaughn chasing against the Chargers in the playoffs, his first ever playoff game. 2 sacks, I think 4 or 5 tackles, a forced fumble. Should the Raiders have kept this guy Caleb Vaughn chasing? I've said it. I said it when they let him go. It was absolutely ridiculous that they didn't re-sign him. They gave Malcolm Coons 12 million. They could have easily gave him 9 million and kept him in the building and gave the other 3 to Chase on and had him in the building. But no, no. So the Chargers, man, the Chargers, 3 points, 3 points against Mike Vrabel and the New England Patriots defense. What a story, right? What a story. And fuck, I didn't save it. There was a report on X that the defensive coordinator for the Patriots was the linebackers coach coming into the start of the season. The Patriots defensive coordinator, I believe, got periodic cancer and is not coaching. But this man steps up and has this defense fired up. So a lot of talk about, Jesse Mentor. Sorry, I got to stand up for the national anthem. How rude of me. Um, a lot of talk about Jesse Mentor, being that guy. But this dude for the Patriots is a no-name guy that comes in and it's not even his job, bro. And he ends up calling plays and having his team, shut down a very high-powered offense in the NFL. And we know Herbert was hurt. We know their running backs are hurt. We know their offensive line is beat up. But man, this is why I'm saying no to the Harbaugh. There are so many up-and-coming young coaches. Damn. But yeah, man, there's so many up and coming young coaches that are, in the shadows, that are not heard of, that are not getting, you know, talked about. And if you follow this channel and you like and subscribe and you're not subscribed, well, damn, subscribe to the channel. But if you follow this channel, man, you already know how I feel about quarterbacks, right? It's a team sport. There is no great quarterback without a great offensive line, without great receivers, without a great play caller, right? It just doesn't work that way. It never has. Same thing with coaches. There has never been a great coach that didn't have a great staff around him, right? It's there's never been a great business that didn't have great business owners or people in the building running that business. Nothing in life, unless you're playing tennis or golf, right, is a single sport. And even tennis players have trainers, right? They have people that work out with them, that train them. Golfers have instructors. So it's no, you can't put everything on, oh, this coach did this and this coach did that. Who was the guys around them? Where did those guys get jobs after they left? And what did they do, right? When you look at the McVay tree, a lot of people say, well, what does Sean McVay do? And what has the people from his tree done? They've done a lot. They've done a lot. They've all been very successful in the NFL. Some of them are. All right, where the hell they go? I got it somewhere. This one, yeah. So, just a small dose of Sean McVay and why Sean McVay tree is so coveted, right? Why there's so many people that are beating down the doors of the Rams to try and get somebody out of this organization. They're constantly in the playoffs. They develop players well, right? Players that go from the Rams to other players have success. They don't just go to teams and fail and lay down, right? They have success. Coaches that leave and go coach themselves have success. One of those is Matt LaFleur. We've talked about this a million times. Packers head coach, former offensive coordinator for the Rams, strong winning record, and has consistently made the playoffs. Zach Taylor, I believe former head coach of the Bengals, Rams quarterback coach, led the Bengals to a Super Bowl appearance. Was he the head coach then? That might be wrong information. I don't know where I got that at. Kevin O'Connell, Vikings head coach, right? Former Rams offensive coordinator. was named AP Coach of the Year and had a significant regular season success. Another, Sean McVay, disciple. Raheem Morris, Falcons head coach, former Falcons head coach, right? Didn't he just get fired? Or no? I believe so, right? So, uh, yeah, former Rams defensive coordinator was hired for his second head coaching stint after his first time with the Rams. Brandon Staley, a guy that coached the Chargers an awful lot, right? Also, Sean McVay. So there's a reason why all these guys are coveted. That Sean McVay tree runs very, very deep. There's a lot of players. There's even more. Chris Shula, Mike LaFleur, and the number one thing that I heard. I told you I'll tell y'all in a minute, right? The sneaky coach that has been compared to a coach that was in the coaching cycle last year, that I talked about months ago before anybody has even mentioned this name or knew how to pronounce this dude's name, right? Nate Shieldhouse. Nate Shieldhouse, I probably pronounced it wrong. The passing game coordinator for the Rams has been compared to Liam Cohen, right? Liam Cohen takes over the Jacksonville job. He was the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Had a successful season, right? It came down to a play or two that, yeah, Trevor Lawrence probably could have made better plays and helped his team more, but they fought, they scrubbed, they scrapped, and they almost upset the Bills in the playoffs. So shout out to Liam Cohen, but a guy that has been compared to that name is not Mike LaFleur, right? It's not one of these young guys like Jeff Halfley, right? No, it's a guy that probably nobody's ever heard of, doesn't even know what he looks like. And if you don't know what he looks like, then go check out my short that I made on YouTube. Go watch it. Go check it out. Has a picture of him. Explains, who he is, what he does. Passing game coordinator for the Rams. Nate Shieldhouse is a name that is widely gaining a lot of respect. And the whole Davis Webb thing slowly started to be a real candidate. It jumped off right away where everybody was like, "Who is this dude?" Now he's getting other interviews, and from what I hear from the Las Vegas Raiders, is he killed it. He killed it in the interview. Everybody was very, very, very impressed with his knowledge. With his idea of where a team should go. Only being 30 years old, only being a quarterback coach, right? He already has vision. He already knows what he wants to accomplish. And the interview went very, very good. So don't be surprised if he gets another interview, if he doesn't take a job somewhere else. So Davis Webb is definitely a name that has been growing a lot of smoke. But I have a question. Like, if the Raiders are going out and getting this name Davis Webb from the Donkeys, right? A rival, why have they still not picked up the phone and called the Minnesota Vikings Josh McCown? He is a former Raiders quarterback. Bring him back in the building, man. His name has been cycled all over, whether it's OC, maybe he's not ready for a head coaching job, but if you're bringing in all these other people, why the hell is Josh McCown's name not on this list? I do not understand it. We've seen what he did with Sam Darnold. We've seen what he done with a 20-year-old, 21-year-old JJ McCarthy. Josh McCown's name has been circled around a whole lot, and now all of a sudden in this coaching cycle, I haven't heard it mentioned at all. So I don't know what happened there or what happened with that whole thing, but that is a name that I still want to, hear from the Las Vegas Raiders, bring in, pick his ear, at least talk about it. It just makes no sense to me that they're bringing in these cats that, just because somebody referred them or something and they got to go do their homework on, when you should know a whole lot about Josh McCown. Also, in the news, offensive coordinator we talked about right? I talked about it a minute ago. What he did with Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen, what he did under Kevin O'Connell would be Grant Udinski. Grant Udinski is a name that I think the Raiders need to put on their list, right? They need to have this guy in an interview. You need to bring him in and pick his ear. Liam Cohen might be, coach of the year, could be very, very well coach of the year candidate, and win that. But Udinski, man, is a name that is circling around quietly. But what he did as another, as an offensive coordinator, it wasn't all Josh McCown. He was part of that. But you could bring in this guy, Udinski, has ties with Josh McCown, right? You can make Josh McCown the OC. And if Udinski doesn't work in 2 or 3 years, you might have a guy in the building that you can bring up, right? Maybe the offense is banging. Maybe the offense, you know, is killing it, but the head coach isn't working out, right? So definitely a name that you should look at. And so far, right? So far, the Las Vegas Raiders have interviewed Clint Kubiak, Seattle offensive coordinator. It's way up there on a lot of people's list. Not as high on mine as some others, right? I have some other names in mind that I would have above that, but Clint Kubiak has interviewed for the Las Vegas Raiders. Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. Matt Nagy, OC for the Kansas City Chiefs. Kevin Stefanski, ex-Browns head coach. Davis Webb, Broncos passing game coordinator and quarterback coach. We know all this, right? The ones you might not know, if you don't know, now you know, is Jeff Hafley, Packers DC. The Raiders have requested an interview with. And the rest of these names are requests. They have got no name back, no times yet. There's no dates. There's no even guarantee that they will be willing to even take the interview. But these are the names on the list. Jeff Hafley, DC for the Packers, which after giving up, 28 points in a playoff game, I don't know why the Raiders would ask this man to be on the list. I know his previous stuff, stands out. But in your first playoff game as DC, you get cooked in the playoff, giving up 28 points in the second half when you have a 21-3 lead. I don't know why this guy, he wouldn't be on my list. Resume speaks for itself. But, nah, come on, man. Come on. Mike LaFleur, Rams OC. Yes, the Raiders have requested to interview Rams OC Mike LaFleur. Also, Rams DC, Chris Shula. Also, Iroro Evero, Panthers defensive coordinator, which I really, really like this. If they're going DC, we hear a lot of names like Jesse Minter, Robert Saleh, right? But if you look at what the Panthers defense has done over the last couple of years, this man, Evero, is a very, 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 very highly respected defensive coordinator. And, I know they gave up 34 points to the Rams. It doesn't look like it. But very, very solid name. It's not a Rooney Rule. The Raiders have already completed the Rooney Rule. In case you don't know, now you know on that part. Wait, have they completed the Rooney Rule? Vance Joseph? No. They still have one more, I do believe. So they have one more interview to complete that. So maybe that is part of it, but I hate to say that. And then Nathan Shieldhaas, passing game coordinator for the Rams, has been requested to interview for the Las Vegas Raiders. So those are the names that are currently on the list. And then one more was added before I went live. Jesse Mentor. We talked about that. So the Raiders have interviewed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 already interviews, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the books, and possibly 2 more on the books after that. So that's what we got, man. That's what we got. In addition, preparing for the Bears, I got to that. Got to Mentor. One more thing in the news that I thought was interesting, and if y'all don't know, Dylan Raiola, he is the, wannabe Patrick Mahomes. This game has started. Quick pass over the middle, ball deflected up in the air, and it is batted around. And Pittsburgh could have turned it around right there, but they didn't. Nico looks shaken up. He's up. He's fine. Joey Porter, that dog, we all know. But, however, Dylan Raiola has committed to none other than Oregon. Oregon? So if you don't think Dante Moore is going to declare for the NFL draft, this might say a lot, right? Now, for Dylan Raiola to come to this team, I've seen the man play quarterback. He's decent. Can they fix him? 3rd and 5, deep pass. Caught. Kirk with the pass. On 3rd and 5, the Houston Texans coming out hot. But to put yourself in Oregon on display in front of the world, because the expectations you're gonna have at Oregon after Moore, after Bo Nix, like the expectations Dylan Raiola is putting on himself to commit to Oregon is absolutely crazy to me. Also, in the news, Ty Simpson, who declared for the NFL draft, was reportedly offered $6.5 million to come to Miami and transfer next year, and he turned it down to enter the NFL draft. So I don't know who his agent is or where they're getting, who is in his ear telling him this shit. But man, these kids are getting bad advice, bro. Bad advice. Tennessee also offered him $4 million to transfer there because they will lose their quarterback at the end of the year. And Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss has been denied, another year of eligibility. He is now suing the NCAA. We'll see how that goes. But Ole Miss has offered Ty Simpson also $4 million to transfer there. But he has already declared for the draft. Let me know in the comments, did this kid make a bad decision? This is Harold Rice Jr. again. What's up, bro? What's good, my guy? Appreciate you popping back in. I don't love Stefanski as coach, but his player would fit really well with the Raiders' talent, heavy using tight ends and running backs. Slamming Sammy. I agree, man. I agree 100%. And I wouldn't be upset if it was Stefanski. All right, ball on the 45-yard line, trips to the bottom. Ball on the field side. And there's a flag. I think Stefanski's, being in Cleveland, that toughness, that grit, I think it fits the Raiders. I think it fits the Raiders, what they're trying to do on defense. I think he'll bring in, a gritty defensive coach. So I wouldn't be mad at Stefanski. I wouldn't hate on Harbaugh. Last year, there was a bunch of coaches I didn't want in the building. 2 of those turned out to, one lost in the playoffs to the Bills. Liam Cohen was not on my list. I just didn't think it was going to work. I didn't like the way he did Tampa Bay by telling them he would come back and be their offensive coordinator, and then the last minute taking the job, which took the job from Patrick Graham. I thought that was kind of dirty, but Liam Cohen is, he's that dude. So also Mike Vrabel, I didn't want Mike Vrabel. I didn't want the Patriot way. I didn't want, him in the building. I didn't want him to try to, resurrect the New England Patriots through the Raiders. But he's doing a damn good job over there also. So this year, I'm going to be a little bit more, if they have experience and the Raiders decide to take him, who am I to say? The Raiders are so bad that they would fire their quarterback. Quarterback have Tom Brady sell his share and become a quarterback for the Raiders. Yeah, I don't think that's never going to happen. And I don't think the Raiders are as bad as you think, man. Like, if you really, really watch the Raiders and just not looked at their schedule, if you really break down their roster like we do on here constantly, this team is not far away, man. Under pressure, pass incomplete. This team is not far away. Mentor X Spytex 2026. I don't know, man. I don't know. I know the ties between the so-called ties between Mentor and Spytech, but they said the same thing about Brady and Spytech, and Brady and Spytech both admitted themselves that they didn't talk for 24 years. They went to college together. They didn't even speak on the phone or texting until Tom Brady, you know, became the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Bucks, and Spytek happened to be working there, right? Now, Spytek might have been one of the guys saying, let's go get Tom Brady because he knew he has 7 rings, but there was not, a former connection there. So I don't know what the connection really is between Mentor and Spytek, but I think it's just a lot of hoopla and bullshit. I mean, to me, because Mentor was already gone, I believe, so he didn't go to school with Brady and Mentor. I think he's a little bit younger. I could be wrong. And he has more ties, to Harbaugh. Like the only thing they have in connection that I know of that I can find is Michigan. Ty Simpson will get drafted late first round or early second. I don't hate the move. I kind of do, man. I believe the kid has intangibles, right? He has great intangibles, but he was not ready. Not ready. I mean, yeah, you got to give him credit for sitting behind Tua, sitting behind Bryce Young, when he could have transferred. He decided to stay there. Um, so I give him that, but I just think that's the wrong move, man. Like, stay in school with Alabama one more year, learn more defenses, get more snaps, because the statistics show if you have less than 20 starts in college football, the chances of you being great in the NFL or even being a starter, right? It's they're not great. They're not great. So Chiefs and Eagles were both underwhelming this year exclusively due to bad O-line, and Mahomes is a Hall of Famer. 100% facts. Raiders O-line was a disgrace of the game of football. You're wrong again, bro. The Raiders O-line was badly coached by a guy that got a job because he was the son of the head coach. So it had nothing to do with this Raiders offensive line. They got 2 rookies that I guarantee you probably would have started last year on more than half the teams in the NFL, especially with the injuries. So they were badly coached by a dude that should have had no business being the run game coordinator and the offensive coordinator. This offensive line is not bad. They had injuries to Colton Miller and JPJ, but they have dogs. They have guys that are willing to get better. A lot of people don't know the Raiders on the side were doing private workouts to try to get better because the offensive line coach was so bad they didn't know what he was trying to get them to do. There was no scheme to the system. It was just bunch of nonsense. So to say the Raiders offensive line was a disgrace is just you're uneducated about the Raiders, bro. So they were bad, yes. But a disgrace to the game of football? Come on, man. That's just a little rough. Little rough. Aaron Rodgers on the rollout. Pass caught wide open to the 40, 50, down to the 46-yard line. And the Steelers are in business. I'll turn this up so y'all can hear it. But yeah, man. Watch when the Raiders get a head coach this year and an offensive line coach, and watch how good this offensive line is, and you'll be like, damn, this offensive line flipped overnight. No, they finally got coaching. Nobody could be good without coaching in the NFL. Like, if your scheme is bad and people know your scheme is bad, you're going to get destroyed like they did all year long. Deep to DK, pass interference, and they will take over on the 28-yard line. And they are his business. A quarterback play made our O-line look bad. Quarterback play also made the O-line look bad. He took a lot of sacks that he didn't have to take. I mean, Geno Smith could have got the ball away many times. So I think this offensive line was pretty solid at the end of the year last year, and all those players are still here. So I look for them to be, way better than people give them credit for. I don't think there's too many pieces we need on this line. Like I talked about it the other day, I think a left guard is pretty much what we need if we go with JPJ at center. If not, then a center and a left guard. But then that means you have a whole lot of fucking depth on backup. If you're starting JPJ and Caleb Rogers as a backup that played solid in 4 games, 5 games this year, right? That's a lot to me. So I feel like the depth is there. I think Parham will move on. You have to replace him, right? I think Alex Kappa, depending on who the coach is, he's under a 2-year contract, will probably be back. Forsythe more than likely will be gone. And if you replace those two pieces, Forsythe and Parham, with starters, man, this offensive line it's gonna definitely surprise some people. Damn, good cut. And he picks up the first down, and the Steelers are to the 20-yard line. And like I said at the beginning of the game, all this talk about this defense for the Houston Texans, they've been exposed before, right? They've been exposed before. And when you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers in a run game, and Cardell and Morris, or Gainwell, Cardell, what'd I say? Gainwell, like, these dudes are dogs, bro. They can run the hell out of the football. All right, ball on the 21-yard line. Jumbo set. 2 receivers and a tight end. He's going to throw it up. And Jonnu Smith was not looking at the ball. But yeah, I feel you, man. Quarterback play definitely always hurts offensive lines. And I don't think that's going to be the case this year. It looks like it's going to be Mendoza. Do I want Mendoza? I'm not. I'm just not sold on him. I'm just not sold on him. And take it for what it's worth. My quarterback evaluations have been pretty spot on the last couple years. I think he's going to be good, but I just don't know about special. Ball on the 21. Got 1 by 2. And he'll just throw it out of bounds. Good Lord. Give the time play to develop, Aaron Rodgers. What's going on, bro? What you doing over here? You're rushing everything. You're rushing everything. He had a little bit more time to let that play develop. He just threw it out of bounds. I guess when you're 42, you don't want to get hit by 340-pound defensive linemen, right? All right, spread offense, 2 by 2. In the gun. 3rd and 10. Aaron Rodgers looks, quick throw, caught. And they will be 4 yards short. It'll be 4th and 5. And it looks like they might be staying out. No, field goal. What do y'all think about what do y'all think about the calls last night? Or not last night, the Bears with Ben Johnson going for it on every 4th down situation, bro. This dude went for it on every 4th down. And they still somehow came back and won. I feel like 3-0 Steelers. I feel like when you have a head coach that's willing to believe in your team and show that he believes in your team by taking chances like that in the playoffs, on 4th down, and you're just like, nah, bro, we ain't kicking, we're going for it, we're gonna get this, and not get it most of the time. I think it fired up that team, right? They're like, man, if this dude believes in us like that, we got to go out there and fight for him and play for him. So crazy going against the grain like that, but shout out for Ben Johnson having balls, man, having balls. Oh, what else was in the news I was going to talk about? It's not how you hate AOC, who is a pocket passer, but Mendoza is generational, even though he is a pocket passer who is slightly more mobile. Damn, I can't find it. I had something else I was going to talk about. I had one more thing. It disappeared. Wait, let's try this. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. Oh, I talked about Shield House already. Talked about that, talked about that, talked about that, and that. Alright, man. Shit, I think we all caught up. We all caught up. Let's say the Raiders bring in a head coach that doesn't believe Mendoza is the guy, right? Which way do we go then? Well, let's look at some of these defensive linemen. Peter Woods from Clemson, Caleb Banks from Florida, Lee Hunter from Texas Tech, Caden McDonald at Ohio State, Amari Washington at Oregon. There's some chunks. There's some chunks on this defensive line. Who else we got? Christian Miller from Georgia, Dominique Orange from Iowa State. I think this man is gonna shock some people at the combine and the Senior Bowl if he goes. Daryl Jackson Jr. from Florida State, Zane Durant from Penn State, James Smith from Alabama. Yeah, there's some dogs on here. There's some dogs on here. Ow, that hurt. That was my fucking toe. All right, first down pass caught at the 30. And they will roll from there. All right, man. So that's all I got. That's the news. That's everything coming up. I'm going to get off here. I'm going to watch this game. Shout out to the 3 people in the building. Shout out to everybody who came through. All the likes I got. Appreciate y'all. I might be back for my after take for the game, but I'm going to hop off here, man. I'm going to get something to eat. I'm going to watch this game. But on the way out, let me know, man. Let me know. Pop in on this video when it comes back up and let me know, man, what coach is your favorite, and let me know why, right? Don't just say a coach, right? Have an opinion, do your homework. Appreciate you as always. Much love. Protect yourself, your mind, your family, your friends. Always have everybody's back. Peace. Raiders. Just win, family.